I was born in Regina. Dad worked on the railroad, so he had a pass. So we all moved to BC. We never went back to the prairie. Never went back. I was a real busy kid. I got a grandson that's the same. I just watch everybody do everything. I don't find out what they're doing. We're always nosy, they call it. Why don't you mind your own business? I want to find out what everything's doing. And it's paid off because I don't care what's your name, I've done it. I learned how to diamond drill. I've prospected, staked claims, gridded claims. Done all the surveying on the lake here for the fisheries. Oh yeah. I could do anything. I can remember when I was 3 years old. We lived in a place called Swords and Arrows, where the water passed between the island. And I remember my mother making a soup out of the back of a sofa. You ever stop to think about it? Turn your sofa around. There's the most beautiful piece of cloth, the full length of your sofa. It's never used for anything. It's up against the wall. So she decided, well, she took a scissors and cut the whole thing out and made me a suit. The trouble was it was that itchy stuff. Oh God, instead of just sweat, I was scratching like a dog burying a bone. And big red lumps where I was scratching. I finally told her, Mom, I can't wear this. Why? Oh, look at my legs are all red from scratching. It's a tapestry, it's not a cloth. Right. Well, she made a whole suit.
When is your birthday, Richard?
July 10, 1925. Yeah. And that's when it was a big depression. We got up in the morning and all we had to eat was turnips. There was nothing. There was nothing in the stores. Stores were closed down. There was nobody doing anything. So you had to go out and kind of trade stuff, try to find something to eat. I'll trade you this. So then that's when Dad, he was smart. He says, you got to get the hell out of the big cities. You can't live in the big city. And we're going to go through the same thing with Vancouver. You watch. There's going to be riots and everything else. As it tightens up with this screwball across the way here. Now, he says, you can't live in a big city. So we went on the coast, up the coast. We had no doctor, no school, nothing. No running water, no lights, no nothing. And she had 5 kids. My mother had 5 kids, and she was born in New York. You go from the city. I sit back now and think, my mom was sure was some woman, I'll tell you, and to live that life, Because I can remember as a kid helping her push this big pole. Because the clothesline would be sagged, tied over there and tied over here, and put all the clothes on it. Then we didn't have pulleys or ropes or anything, so you take a big stick. If you're lucky, you can get a tree with a crotch on it, and you get it under the rope, and it takes about 2 people to shove all the laundry up in the air, and then let it. I can remember as a kid helping Mom push this pole to push the line up so the clothes would be on the ground.
What about your younger years? Did you go to grade school or?
My younger years was mostly dealing with athletics. Like years ago, the provincial government had an organization called Pro-Rec, Provincial Recreation, was to try and get the people, off the sofa and doing things. I started in that, and then they turned it over to me. They said, well, you can do it better than we can. So they turned it over to me. That's where I started it all there. Yeah. And then I had different gymnasiums and things.
How old were you when you were doing that?
16, 15. Yeah, I could stand and do a backflip without moving. On my feet again. I had all kinds of little boys working. They kind of attracted them because I had a springboard, vaulting box, and all that, and they wanted to. And you know what kids are like. I want to try that. Yeah. So I had quite a group. We put on shows in Vancouver. Yeah, from Gibson's Landing. There's nobody there. There's nothing there. Just a little fishing place. No. Oh, I've had a good life, but always active and always nosy, trying to find out what makes things tick. Yeah. which is a good way. It's a good thing because you don't waste any time. And lots of places I've met people that were doing things. I watched them and I went and had to talk to them and say, I don't want to offend you, but I know how to do it cheaper and quicker. And they say, well, show us. So I show them. And they won't believe it. I said, well, where did you get all that from? Well, I watched you for a while and I figured I can do better than that. It's just a little age that want to challenge, Yeah.
What was your family life like?
Good. We were a real tough bunch. We were a real neat family. We fought amongst ourselves, but nobody dared mess with us, put it that way. Yeah. Because the four boys, and to give you an idea, there was no TV, there was nothing. So Dad was a policeman in Ontario, and he's a rough guy. He's 6'4", 240 pounds, big guy. Anyway, and when we were kids, away up the coast, nothing to do, well, I'll teach you how to box. So every Saturday or weekend, we put on these big pink boxing gloves, and Ross would beat Jim up, Jim would beat Ross up, and this type of thing. So we got to be a pretty tough bunch, And that was good. It was a great big. And my sister, the oldest sister, oh man, she developed a left hook that knocked guys out and never knew what hit them. There was 10 of us in the family. There's 6 boys and 4 girls. We lost one girl. She died of a burst appendix, but the dumb doctor said, well, she's been eating green apples or something. He had no idea what they were. But she died when she was about 7 years old. Yeah.
What about the rest of your younger siblings?
Nothing, no problem. They're all graduated. They're all good kids. They're all got good jobs. Yeah.
So when you were younger, what kind of career were you kind of trying to?
I wanted to be a structural engineer, but I never got to college.
Uh-huh.
No, I went to work. I went to work. Well, it was a big family. There's 10 of us in the family. So somebody had to keep working. Well, I got a letter from the king. See, I was fishing for a living with my family out of Harriet Bay on Quadra Island. And that was our home base. And we were living in a hotel that had gone broke, so we all had our own room. Anyway, they got a letter from the king. And they said they were forming an organization, and he had a name for it. It was Her Royal Majesty's Marine Naval Assault Force. And he says, now, we're looking for people who can handle small craft in rough weather, and we are asking you to volunteer. So I volunteered. Mom was really mad because, well, hell, 4 other brothers had already joined the military. No, and that's where I introduced, and then it morphed into combined operations. We got so successful that they blanched it out, and we got cruisers and battleships with our same logo on the ship's side. Yeah, that area. Yeah, it turned into an organization and combined operations. Yeah. But that's where it all started. It was just a fisherman's reserve, and I guess they figured, well, these people know what they're doing, and they can handle boats, so we don't have to train them. We had no training. Went down to Vancouver. We were supposed to attend the Vancouver naval base. There wasn't any. There was a yacht club. And we got in there and we got all our hair shaved off. All my beautiful hair was gone. And then we got, punctures in both arms. And then sent out to get room and board. We only had about a week and we were in Halifax. Then from Halifax over to Greenock, Scotland, and then up to Dumbarton, Toon in Ayrshire. That's the commando training base. And that's where we spent 2 years there. Yeah. Learning how all the ins and outs of the ship and handling it. The skipper, he was a nice guy, but we pulled in on the side of an LST, landing ship tank. It carried around 4 tanks, but it was kind of dark at night. We slid along, and we had the idea that any flak coming, the tank, the LST is going to be a good barrier. Will be less problems. So we pulled in alongside, tied up, and ran her up on the beach. There's still 4 feet of water. Woke up in the morning. There's no tanks in there. 700 tons of munitions. We parked them outside, and here comes a Falkboat 109 with wing bombs. And the skipper says, go ashore or stay on the ship. Do what you want. Get the hell out of here. Anyway, he got a little too brave. He came. See, we were good for 1,000 feet. The Oregon, I could take your hat off at 1,000 feet. Well, even touching your head. Really accurate. There's the rings. You figure out if it's a Falk Wolf, he's doing 400 miles an hour. You put him in a 400 mile an hour range, you got him, you follow him, you have it. He's had it. You push a button, he had it. Yeah. But anyway, he straddled it. A ball on each side, blew the whole port quarter off it, off the boat, blew the bow, blew it off, but he didn't ignite anything. I know she talked about. That was the closest. If he had hit it, well, this whole building would have been this whole block would have gone. Yeah.
Or more, who knows?
Or more than that. Yeah. They're designed to go up on the beach and then drag yourself off. But in France, in Benny-Chamer, you could play golf when the tide went out. You couldn't drive the ball far enough to hit the ocean. So when we went in, all the guys were up to the waist in water. They all got wet going ashore. You know. So I don't know how they managed after that, and how the hell they're all soaking wet, you know. Well, they managed to do it. And then they had a load of bicycles on their backs too. That was a joke. Everybody thought, well, there's a picnic, there's a party or something going on. You know. But they did some thinking. That was the backup troop. See, normally they would all line up, they all would march, and away they go marching to back up the troops that are already there. Well, now they got bicycles, they're there in 10 minutes. Then they sold the bike away. Yeah. Every kid in France had a bicycle. I think so. Because there's just two big lug nuts and they fold up. Yeah. Then put them on your back. Yeah. They make a real good deal for sportsmen right now, but after the war, it just all disappeared. You see, now there's another thing. There's only 30 ships in our group, but we put 1,600 people ashore, and then we were disbanded. And nobody even knows it. They keep asking me, you were in the Navy. Yeah, I said, I was in the Navy, but I wasn't on a ship. Well, how the hell were you in the Navy? Well, then they finally realized. And I'm talking to the ambassador, and he says, well, what were you doing? I said, we were the first ones to hit the beach. We were the ones that took all their flak, and we survived. And now, after one day, that was it was over. They were all floating. It's hard to believe, but they floated the concrete and steel dock structure across the channel and beached it, and then the big ships could come in. We don't need you anymore, go away. That was it. We just abandoned the ship, left it on the beach, walked away. Then I went up to Scotland and Niobe, the Manning pool there, a Navy Manning pool, and I signed on a Corvette, and that was going back to be decommissioned. That was the worst trip I ever had in my life. Now, the Manning pool in Scotland, as I said in my note, it used to be an insane asylum. But all I did was just change the uniforms. But I got in there and I found out there was one going back to be decommissioned. Well, that means, let's get the hell out of here. So anyway, I went down, I said, is there any chance of signing on? Yeah, we'll take another couple of men. So I signed on, but oh man. 5 days I didn't have anything to eat. 5 days I never even stood up. I had to crawl around. And there was vomit everywhere. Oh God, everybody was sick. Well, the only thing that saved us was the boys that lived in Nova Scotia. They were born in the ocean and they lived in the ocean. It didn't phase on them. All they had to do was keep around the course. And we came into Halifax. And then Halifax, or into Newfoundland. And we had green showing. About 6 feet of the hull was showing, all covered with weeds. They call it the green was showing. And we had dumped over all the fuel, all the depth charges. We took the barrel off to 4.7 overboard, all the guns, all the rack, everything with munitions was thrown overboard. So the bottom of the Atlantic is one big minefield. Yeah. Got into Newfoundland overnight, and then into Halifax. And then I got off the ship. That was it. Then I started figuring, well, I'd go to figure out how to get the hell out of here. I got back to Halifax, then I said, I'm a lucky guy. The luck rides with me at times. I'm walking down the street in Barrington in Halifax, and I look, and he said, hey, Rich. Turn around, it's a guy I went to school with, Vivian Brady. His name is Vivian, the girl's name is the boy's name too, I guess. And I got talking to him, I said, what are you doing? Well, I got a cushy job, he said. Well, what are you doing? He said, I'm in the discharge office. Ping! I said, well, can you, how much would it cost to find out where I am in that pile? He said, when did you get in? I said, 4 days ago we came in. You're here for a year, he says. There's no hope. You'll be here at least a year. I said, the pile falls over, you put it back together, you screw it all up. Yeah, that happens quite often. He says, you open the door and the bank, it'll all fall. I just stash it up again. I said, in that pile somewhere there's $100 bill. He looked at me and says, I know what you're up to. I said, well, it happens, you know. You happen to find this $100 bill, and there's a week later I get a notice on the bulletin board for me to start my discharge routine. Well, I know, you know, I'm not sneaky, but I had a little book because I wasn't aboard ship. I had a little book, and that little book stayed with me, and when I wanted money, or they call it a casual, I would go to a senior officer, tap him on the shoulder and show him my book, and he'd look at it. Well, how much do you want? And I said, well, give me 8 quid. Huh? And he did it. I go to the cashier and get money. And I knew I was overdrawn because some of the pages had fallen out, and some of them you couldn't read them because it got soaking wet. So I left that to the last. Well, I could still, even ringing in my ears, how the hell did that son of a bitch get this far? And I hear them talking because I had to follow the routine. I was out, gone. I would turn in everything, sidearm, hammock, the whole bit, a hard hat, everything. I was out. And then a 4-ringer came, our captain came along. What's all the fuss? And the guy was still arguing. And then they said, and they're really nice people. They said, let the bastard go. I was down at the station, got a travel warrant, but never had nothing to eat till I got to Halifax. They wouldn't give me any food checks. No, you're just a number. They don't give a damn, you're just a number. That's all you are.
After you retired, I believe it was 1999, you went back to France.
Yeah. Well, it was a reunion. It was the 50-year celebration. There was only 4 Navy vets. I was one of them. Yeah, we went back in 99. We were there for 13 days. And nothing but graveyard after graveyard after graveyard. You know. But then it's really, as I said, can't believe it. I just can't believe it. The losses we suffered. And what for? Now, when you look at what's happened now, we're right back to nowhere. It was all for nothing. In a way, at the time it wasn't, but when the future rolled in, you really did. You had to do that when you had to do that, you know. No, it's you got to kick it out. I got to kick it. I got to kick it away. It eats you. Drives you nuts. So you got to stop thinking about it. Yeah.
Actually, in 2017, you got it was a letter from the French ambassador honoring you. It was the Order of the Legion.
It's the National Order of the French Legion of Honor.
You're actually quite the poet too. You actually wrote up your own poem.
Yeah.
During the war.
See, there again, it's the military again. The government, the politicians are a pain in the butt as far as I'm concerned, every one of them. Anyway, they have no idea. And these 70,000 men died keeping the the supply lines open from Canada and America to Europe, and they said that, well, they're not entitled to benefits. They weren't servicemen. Oh, come on, what were they doing? Picnicking? You stupid buggers. No, and that's why I got mad at them. I went after them, and even the Legion now agrees with me. They're saying it on November the 11th. They're giving a tribute to the Merchant Marine and the Royal Canadian Navy. Without them, they wouldn't have been at war.
That's true.
They folded up a long time ago. Yeah. Well, they were sinking them faster than we could build them. Yeah. But 70,000 men drowned. 70,000. And you don't hear a word about it, do you? No. So that's a pain. So that's why I wrote that down when they were talking one day. I said, I got an idea. So I wrote it. I just come to my mind. I picked up the carpenter trade. I served my apprenticeship. And then, I don't know, it seems like every year they were going to go on strike, and I kept saying, you people are stupid. The strike doesn't solve anything. Everybody loses. So the guy said, well, you got any ideas? I said, well, we got to change our attitude. That's all. The boss is not your enemy. See, the IWA, I kept pounding that. The boss is your enemy. The boss is your enemy. He's not your enemy. He's your friend, for God's sake. And then they said, well, how about you coming to work for us? And I worked out of Washington, D.C. for 14 years. I was their troubleshooter. They called me the special representative. Yeah. I did all over. You name it, I've been everywhere. And it's mostly inter-trade arguments. The shipwrights or the millwrights are arguing with the machinists, and this type of thing, where the work stops and they start, this type of thing, and then organizing in different trades. Oh yeah, I spent 14 years, but it was a pressure cooker job. It was so tough. Good thing I was tough. Then I walking down the beach in Florida one day, my mother was down there. Her brother was a millionaire. I thought, what the hell am I doing here? I got 4 kids at home. I just got on the machines. I quit. I don't know the hell with it. I mean, what is more to life than that?
I believe you told me you moved to Summerland in 1960.
Yeah, 1960 we moved here. The family moved here. I've been here before that because I had to organize the sawmill. The Summerland bought pine and pine. There was no cardboard then, it was all wood. Yeah. So there was a box factory and a bunch of girls working in it, and then the sawmill. Yeah. No, that was in 1960, and the place was, was reasonable. You could get a job here at a decent rate, but then it's just slowly all gone to tourism, and that's the end of it.
Yeah. And you lived in Penticton before you moved?
We lived in Penticton for about 8 years, Yeah. But the kids were growing up, and I think I told you, they're going downtown and hanging out. No, I don't want that told away. No, we don't want none of that stuff. I know where it's going. No. So we moved. The solution to our problems was just move. Yeah. Then we got up into the wartime housing, they called it. They were all built during the war. And it used to be the city dump because I just dug a basement under my house, and I was digging up car rims, old bottles, and you name it. It used to be the dump. Yeah.
And you had 2 more kids when you moved?
Hey?
You had 2 more kids when you moved here?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Anyway, we decided 6 kids is enough. We can't afford to give any more. Yeah. And they're all girls except one boy. Yeah. But I'm proud of them all because they've all done well. Yeah. And they kind of bug me because they keep wanting to know what I'm doing all the time. I said, leave me alone. They think I'm going to drop dead any minute. I don't know. Well, maybe I will. Who cares? Who cares? Mother Nature's the one you got to talk to.
It's out of our control.
Out of our control. Don't worry about it. One day at a time. There's a song, and I love it. It's actually a prayer, but it's a song. And it says everything. Can I recite it to you? Because I know it by memory. It starts off as, I'm only human, I'm just a man, Lord, help me to be all I can be and all that I am. Lord, show me the stairway that I have to climb, and for my sake, teach me to take one day at a time. One day at a time, dear Jesus, that's all I'm asking of you. Please, Lord, give me the strength to do every day the things I must do. Yesterday's gone, dear Jesus, and tomorrow may never be mine. So for my sake, teach me to take one day at a time. And then I added to it, and that's two guys. One plays the banjo, one plays the guitar. And I'll give you the names. We can get the tape. We can get the tape, yeah. But I added along to it. And Lord, you remember when you walked among men. Well, looking below, it's worse now, you know, than it ever was then. The world's in a turmoil. Hate wars all around. Oh, Lord, for my sake, teach me to take one day at a time. It was a song that stuck to my mind because it's right here, you know, down to earth, not way off in the sky someplace. Yeah, just every day. Just take one day at a time.
What was it like when you first moved here?
Here, it was a real quiet place. There was a little over 3,000 people here. And the city clerk, there was no city hall, had a car, and he had a car tax file in the back of his car. And when you paid your taxes, stamp it, you got no receipt. No, nothing. There was no street lights, there was nothing. And right up where that phone exchange is, there was apple trees. That's how far the fruit trees had grown. There was no joke in town. If you want to get your land out of the ALR, run for mayor. Then you can subdivide it. And then there goes the ALR right there. That guy builds a house. He subdivides, another one builds a house. There's no LR. There's always some sneaky way of getting around things. Yeah. No, it was a booming town when we were here. Yeah. I had two jobs. I worked on the hospital when they built the new hospital, the Dayrod Construction. The one I'm in right now. Yeah, that was way back in the 50s, though.
What about the other job?
Hey?
What about the other job?
That was it. The rest of them all over BC up to the Mica Creek. We put the foundation in there for the camp, and then I was there 12 years, off and on. Yeah. Yeah. No, I got into quite a few bigger jobs, but most of the time it's, you get maybe a week or 2 weeks work, steady work, and then the job's done. You got to go find another one. Well, I never had any trouble. I never drew unemployment insurance in my life. Never. I always find a job. I could get a job anywhere. And because I could do most anything. I even had an old lady who was showing her how to cook bread because my mom had showed me how to make bread. And I'm showing her how to make bread. And she said, where did you get all this from? And she looked at me, what kind of a nitwit are you anyhow? I said, I'm not a nitwit. I just found that. I can do it. I'll show you. No, I enjoyed life, but as far as, it being hard up like a lot of people, and hit the drinking and I never smoked, never drank. No. I had no time for that. Waste of money. But Summerland was a booming place at one time. Oh yeah. Three packing houses going. And the big one down at the lake, Almer, 120 women working there. 3 shifts. And they shut them down because they wouldn't stop throwing their garbage in the lake. That was the beginning of it, and it started everywhere then. There was a couple of places where you could get special canning done. No sugar, this kind of stuff, for diabetics. Yeah, there was 2 of them that were doing special canning. Yeah. But everybody was working. My wife was working, and the kids were all working. Everybody was working. Yeah. And then it slowly just disappeared.
And by the time you retired, was there a big change at Summerland?
By the time I retired in 1982. Oh yeah. They discovered the Okanagan. After, so then we were just out back someplace, but all of a sudden people decided, hey, this is a beautiful place to live. Yeah. And they come in and go through Summerland and say, oh, what a beautiful little town, I love it here. Next thing you know, they're moving here. Yeah. But there's no work, there's nothing, there's no industry. That's the problem. And so we get something here that has a payroll, we're not going to go very far. It's chicken, all chicken or all feathers. See, that's your how would you call it, tourists. They're here 1 year and they're not, don't show up the next year, you know, this type of thing. It all depends on the economies generally around the whole area, you know. No, I never had work in my life, never. I've had guys in a beer parlor waiting for somebody to phone them to come to get a job. I said, you can sit here until you're drunk, you'll never get a job. Who's going to hire somebody out of a beer parlor? I'm thinking, nah.
After you retired, you told me you worked at the yacht club.
Yeah, I renovated the yacht club. Yeah, they were $18,000 in debt. The wharf had been condemned, the big wharf that was built there. And then the mayor was going to punch out the windows and park their equipment in. Rita Hermison was the mayor then. So we had a talk anyhow, and I told her, look, from Horseshoe Bay to Petra Harbor, all your docking facilities there, I worked on most of them. Greenleys, pile driving. I said all the way up to Britannia Beach, up to Squamish, Wood Fiber, Port Mellon, and then Gibson's Landing. I was all through there. I built wharfs and repaired wharfs. All volunteer, 2 years, 7 days a week, 2 years. And all volunteers, and not one of them left me. I had 20 of them. Not one of them left me. No. So anyway, she says, well, how do you want to do this? I said, I need about $42,000. She says, don't look at me. I said, well, I figure I can do it for about $42,000. What I'm going to do is put in a temporary yacht club. It's all going to be on floats. It'll work. You'll get some money coming in. Then you can rebuild it so it'll last. Well, now they've got floats that are worth $20,000 each. We just use tires full of urethane foam. Yeah. But we had it all working. It was all money was coming in. No. And then I got a kick out of her because she phoned me a couple of times. She says, how are you getting on, nurse? I said, we're doing just fine, Rita. We're doing just fine. By April, we'll have it open for business. She said, you sure? I said, yeah. Oh, she says, I can't sleep at night. I figure if you screw up, we're both going to jail because we used your money. She said, I said, don't think. I'm not a crook, but I know how to dodge people. I just give me a purchase order number. That's all I want. It's a purchase order number. I'll go up to the yards and they don't care. They got the order. Here it is. We got 2x10s, 20 feet long. Oh, beautiful lumber. Yeah, all done. Yeah, but it was. And we paid them back as we built. We paid them back, and we paid them right off as far as that goes. Yeah, and we did it. We did it. We didn't have proper tools or gear. We had oil drums. We used the oil drums for the sawhorses. And they built everything on oil drums. Then we roll them over and dump them in the harbor. See? Then flip them over, and then we take them out and hook them up. And made the fingers in the gangways. You know? Yeah, we did all that by hand. You know? We did it all. We got it done in 2 years. And now it costs more to join the yacht club than it does the golf club. Yeah. Yeah. I'm an honorary life member there, but I don't have a boat anymore.
What year did you renovate the yacht club?
Let's see, I started in 1982, when the day I retired, yeah.
So real early then.
Oh yeah, we were quite early, yeah. I had 2 boats of my own that time. I had a sailboat and a powerboat. It wasn't a powerboat, it was a little tugboat, they called it, you know. No.
Richard, is that the building that is still down there?
Yeah. So everything worked, everything was a success. And I went up and did the same thing for the Legion. Yeah. I had the daughters, my daughters were in there. You could go like that on the window and you could big brown, the nicotine. Oh, the place, I told you this place is a dive, it is. We renovated the whole thing. Carson Nielsen got the contract. I set it up. He paid he bid $130,000, and they renovated the whole Legion. It's a beautiful place now.
Outside of the Legion and the Yacht Club, were there any other clubs?
Oh yeah, I've done a lot of work on the United Church. Before they moved, there was a foundation there for years. Then there was a regular church. Well, it's the same old story. Somebody decided it's not safe, this is wrong, that's wrong, and they're going to tear it down. There's nothing wrong with the old church, but they did it anyhow. And I had a lot of the irrigation in the hall at the back. I did all the insulation and everything in the ceiling. And I had the friend was a pipe or a sheet metal worker. He did the duct work for me, and we did a lot of work. But it's all gone now. It's all gone. Yeah.
How long have you lived in Summerland for?
Well, since 1960, the whole family was here.
So about 65 years now.
Yeah.
After so much time, what kind of hope do you have for the future?
Well, Summerland is a wonderful place for children. It's a wonderful climate. We get over 220 hours of sunshine every day. That's more than they get in California. So now you know why they're coming to the Okanagan. No, it's a beautiful place to live, a good place for kids. The only drawback is it's tourism. And tourism is all chicken or all feathers. And tourism, the orchards are slowly disappearing because the demand on the lake, on the property. Well, look at the building on the mountains all around us now. Because, as I said, this is a good place, a lovely place to live. Nice climate, nice people, and you got fruit and vegetables, you got everything you need. But if it gets too big, all that will disappear.
So you want to keep it kind of small?
I want to leave it the way it is. It's just right now. It's a small little town. You got a mayor, you got aldermen, you got people you can talk to. Yeah.
Nice close-knit community.
Yeah. It's a close-knit community.